Okay, so the Torah portion is Yitro. In English, we'd have that transliterated as Jethro, or the actual literal translation is His Excellence. And it's funny that when Yitro was introduced, he was introduced as Reuel, which meant friend of God. But now he's known as Yitro, which means His Excellence. And it's this kind of change in the way that Yitro is with Moshe and the input that he has on the situation that we'll see. So we're going to talk about that man's kind of influence on certain things, including this. Okay, we're going to talk about the calendar today. I was saying in the Torah portion last time, I was waiting for Yah to show me the calendar. And I was thinking, this is going to be just such a laborious process. I'm going to have to pour through all of the scriptures and watch people's teachings to get where they're going right, get where they're going wrong. And it's going to take a long time. But Yah will show me. But he didn't. He's been showing me throughout the past year or so just what's going to be involved in it. It's going to be something to do with the stars. And a conversation that I had with Ashley's mum when I was in Texas pointed me in a different direction. I was like, that's the piece of information that I've been waiting for. And then when I just started to research that one piece of information, instantly it was just like that. The whole calendar was there. So we'll look at the calendar in the first part. In the second part, we're going to look at his name. Two controversial subjects, but we're not going to look at the pronunciation of his name. We're going to look at the other aspects of his name and why the pronunciation really is the least important factor. We'll be looking at verses that people say, oh, his name is going to be remembered in the end times or whatever. And it's not talking about the pronunciation of his name. It's talking about something completely different. There's many different aspects. There's calling on his name, there's praying in his name. What does it mean to pray in his name? What does it mean to ask something in his name? What does it mean for the sake of his name? All of those things. And in the third part, we're going to look very closely at the 10 words. We're going to look at how they apply to us. And then we're going to look at the idea of what the fear of Yahuwah is and what reverence for Yahuwah is, because the scriptures say that they both lead to different things. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning, and then the reverence of Yahuwah leads to something else. So that's what we'll be looking at today. So chapter 18 starts and says, and Yitro, the priest of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard of all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Yisrael, his people, that Yahuwah had brought Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. And if you remember when we were looking at Yitro at first, we were looking at the idea that maybe he was a priest of Yahuwah. There were certainly other priests, which we'll see in this Torah portion, in fact. There were other priests of Yahuwah at the time. He's got a recognition for who Yahuwah is, and the things that he speaks, he brings honor and he brings glory to Yahuwah, but then we see this influence that he has, and in fact a lot of this same sort of influence which is from the wisdom of men, which particularly you see in the calendar and things like that, people saying, oh, we'll do it this way. The Jews used to do it in this way. The day that no one, or the time that no one knows the day or the hour of, that's the Feast of Trumpets, because they had to send 2 witnesses to call out to the high priest and the thing, and they had to both see the sighted moon and all of that. It sounds really good, and people love that, and they kind of gravitate towards it. And these people who present all of that sort of stuff, they sound like they're wise. It would be like some Jewish guy with his kippah on and, a big beard or whatever, and they'll think, wow, this is where the true wisdom of Yah comes from. It's through men such as this. So we'll look at that concept. Verse 2 says, and Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, after he had sent her back. Okay, so Moshe had sent Zipporah back. We don't actually find out when he sent her back. I think it would be at this point. It says, and it came to be on the way in the lodging place that Yahuwah met him and sought to kill him. And Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and threw it at Moshe's feet and said, you are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let them go. No, he let him go. Then she said, you are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. So I think it's probably at this point. We could speculate as to when he sent them back, but he did send them back, and they were with Yitro. That's the point. And her 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, For he said, I have been a sojourner in a strange land. That's what Geir means. It means stranger or sojourner. And the name of the other was Eliezer. And we looked at the name of Eliezer when Abraham sent his servant back to his land to get a bribe for Isaac. And we saw that this was a picture of the Holy Spirit, who is the helper. And Eliezer means something like, my God is my helper, or my God helps, or something like that. And we see Moshe says, for he said, the Elohim of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Okay, and he's not talking about the Exodus that's just happened because his son was born before the Exodus. He was talking about when he went to dwell in the land of Midian. Okay, the Pharaoh sought to kill him at that point, and he recognized that it was Elohim that delivered him. Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moshe in the wilderness where he was encamped at the mountain of Elohim. And as we'll see in a little bit, that was a fulfillment of a prophecy that Yahuwah gave to Moshe. And he had said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law, Yitro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. Okay, and you'll notice these pictures in the background that I've put up. Put them up, A, because there wasn't many pictures of Yitro, okay, but also, as I was going through them, I noticed this person is really kind of lauded in kind of Jewish circles. It's like, wow, this is the guy who instituted the Sanhedrin, and this is a really, really important guy. And all of that, again, it pays credence to man's wisdom. It's all that sort of side of things. Yitro's very, very associated with that. So we'll see that although he's paying homage to Yahuwah, he's offering sacrifices to him, he's not really on the right page. And Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him, and they asked each other about their welfare, and they went into the tent. And Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yahuwah had done to Pharaoh and to the Mitzrites for Yisrael's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way, and how Yahuwah had delivered them. And Yitro rejoiced for all the good which Yahuwah had done for Yisrael, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Mitzrites. And Yitro said, blessed be Yahuwah, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, and who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Mitzrites. Okay? He sounds good in what he's saying. Okay? He's paying homage to Yahuwah. Blessed be Yahuwah, Baruch Hashem, you might hear people say. And it sounds like, this person's really got a heart for Yahuwah, but it's not quite the way that it seems. Now I know that Yahuwah is greater than all the gods, indeed in the matter in which they acted proudly above them. Then Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, brought a burnt offering and other sacrifices unto Elohim. And Aharon came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe before Elohim. And it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat to judge the people, and the people stood before Moshe from morning until evening. So it's all been great up until this point. Okay, blessed be Yahuwah. Blessed be he for everything that he's done. We'll give sacrifices to him. We'll pay homage to him. However, when it comes to an issue that Yahuwah has set in place, like Moshe sitting to judge the people, he has a different take on it. When the father-in-law of Moshe saw all that he did for the people, he said, what is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself and all the people stand before you from morning until evening? And Moshe said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to seek Elohim. When they have a matter, they come to me, and I judge between one and another and make known the laws of Elohim and his Torah. This is how Elohim has it. Okay, he led them out of Egypt. He's put Moshe in this position to answer all of these questions. That's how he wants it. Yitro sees it very slightly differently, though. And the father-in-law of Moshe said to him, what you are doing is not good. Both you and these people with you shall certainly wear yourselves out, for the matter is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it by yourself. This reminds me of people, with their big theology degrees coming and saying, oh, the law of Elohim, it's too hard for you to do. That's fine. The law is too heavy for you to do. It's too heavy a burden for you to do. Okay? They sound really wise. They'll come with Christ did this, he fulfilled this, and we don't do it because we don't want to add anything to what Christ has done on the cross. Okay? Very similar to what Yitro is saying here. And they can sound very wise, these people. Now listen to my voice, let me counsel you, and let Elohim be with you. Okay, notice the order there. Listen to my voice, let me counsel you, and let Elohim be with you. Okay, not listen to Elohim's voice over this. Listen to how he's guided you in this situation. Let him be your counsel. Okay, let Elohim be with you though. Stand before Elohim for the people, and you shall bring the matters to Elohim. And you shall enlighten them concerning the laws and the Torah, and show them the way in which they should walk, and the work which they do. But you yourself seek out from all the people able men who fear Elohim, men of truth, hating unfair gain, and place these over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, rulers of 10s. So he's drawing on the word of Elohim. He's drawing on his character, the things that he likes. Okay? Hating unfair gain, men of truth, men who fear Elohim. All of this sounds really good. But he's using the word of God to justify his own take on things. Okay? And they shall judge the people at all times, and it shall be when they bring every great matter to you, but they themselves judge every small matter. So make it lighter for yourself, for they shall bear with you. If you do this word, and Elohim shall command you, then you shall be able to stand, and all this people also go to their place in peace. Okay, so if you do this word, this primary thing, do what I've said, okay, then Elohim shall command you. Secondly, then all this people shall go to their place, and you'll be able to stand. And Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said. And Moshe chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged the people at all time, the hard matters they brought to Moshe, but they judged every small matter themselves. So this sounds great, doesn't it? Okay, in the realm of human wisdom, okay, do this. You don't do it. Delegate it to these people, and then they'll do it. That sounds great, okay, but it's not how Elohim has led them, and we'll see in a second that this does not have very good results. Moshe sent off his father-in-law, and he went his way to his own land. That's not the way that Yahuwah does it in the end. Yahuwah just comes along and says, no, we're not doing that, we're doing this. We see that in Numbers 1. Verse 16 says, these are the ones called from the congregation, leaders of their fathers' tribes, heads of the thousands of Israel. And Moshe and Aharon took these men who were called by name, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their ancestry by clans, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, each one head by head. So Yahuwah calls these people by name and says it's going to be these people. It's not going to be the people that you've put in place. As Yahuwah had commanded Moshe, so he registered them in the wilderness of Sinai. So it's the polar opposite here. Okay, so he listened to the voice of his father-in-law, and he did so. Here, he does as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. This is usually what we hear. Moshe listens to the voice of Yahuwah, and then he does what he's commanded. And Moshe heard the people weeping throughout their clans. So this is the result of Yitro's way of doing it. Has it made it lighter for Moshe? Each man at the door of his tent, and the displeasure of Yahuwah burned exceedingly, and in the eyes of Moshe it was evil. So Moshe said to Yahuwah, why have you done evil to your servant, and why have I not found favor in your eyes to put the burden of all these people on me? Was it I who conceived all these people? Was it I who brought them forth, that you should say to me, carry them in your bosom as the foster father carries a nursing child to the land which you swore to their fathers? Where am I to get meat to give to all these people? For they weep before me, saying, give us meat to eat. I am unable to bear all these people alone. This is exactly what it was to help, wasn't it? Because the burden is too heavy for me. And if you are doing this to me, please slay me altogether. If I found favor in your eyes, let me not see my evil. Then Yahuwah said to Moshe, gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them to the tent of meeting, and let them stand there with you. And we're going to see an important difference. It's almost the same as what Yitro suggested, but there's an important difference there. And I shall come down and speak with you there, and shall take of the spirit that is on you and put on them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you do not bear it yourself alone. Okay, so this is the important difference. It's going to be Yahuwah who gives his spirit to these people to enable them to do this. And that brings us to this issue, because this is directly the exact same kind of spirit that's behind Yitro is behind people going after various different streams of wisdom. And you'll notice it is always like that. It's always, some Jewish guy telling a good story and having like loads of charisma that will bring people over to it, and they'll go, yeah, that's definitely how it was. The Jews have been doing this for ages, and they're putting store in the wisdom of man rather than going back to the scriptures and finding out what it was. When I knew that I needed to deal with the calendar, I said from the beginning, I'm not going to go to any teacher on the calendar because I think that they're all wrong. I'm going to pray about it and go back to the scriptures, which is exactly what exactly what Moshe should have been doing in the first place when he had this issue. Okay, so let's look at the calendar. Genesis 1:14 to 18, and this is so simple. It's so simple. It's just as you would expect it to be with Yahuwah. It's not all of these convoluted things, and if we look at this and we get this bit of it, and we look at that and we get the other bit of it, it's right there, boom, there's the calendar. And Elohim said, let lights come to be in the firmament of the heavens to separate the day from the night. Let them be for signs and appointed times and days and years. Okay, so what are the stars for? What are the moon, sun and stars for? For signs, appointed times, days and years, and to separate the day from the night. Okay? One thing I want you to notice that they're not for, okay? What's missing from this? Days and years. Months. Okay? Just to kind of give you the piece of information in advance, there's no such thing as a month. Okay? A month comes from the same thing as Monday. Moon day comes from the idea of the moon. So when we read in scripture the idea of a month, and we're familiar in pagan culture with months, aren't we? The idea of a month, it comes directly from the moon. In scripture, there's a different word. In scripture, the word is Hodesh, and it's translated sometimes as month, sometimes as new moon, which shouldn't be the case. Okay? You shouldn't have to look at it and go, well, sometimes we're going to translate this as month and sometimes as moon. But the tradition says, no, the new moon was this Hodesh. It was this renewal of the moon. And that's where we get the idea of months from. As we're going to look at this, though, we're going to realize there's no such thing as months. There's only Hodesh. And when we realize what a Hodesh is, then it all falls into place and it's perfect. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth, and it came to be so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. As we'll see in a second, the stars rule the night as well. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. Okay? It doesn't actually say the greater light is the sun and the lesser light is the moon. We get that from Psalm 136. It says, to him who made great lights, for his kindness is everlasting. The sun to rule by day, for his kindness is everlasting. The moon and stars to rule by night, for his kindness is everlasting. So they're the three things that are going to give us the calendar. The sun, the moon, and the stars. Exodus 12, 1 to 2. If you remember when we were going through this stuck out to me as extremely, extremely significant. It says, and Yehovah spoke to Moshe and to Aharon in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, this month is the beginning of months for you. It is the first month of the year for you. It doesn't say that. Okay? It says, this Hodesh is the beginning of Hodeshim, months. Or Hodesh, plural of Hodesh is Hodeshim. It is the first Hodesh of the year for you. So let's try to understand what a Hodesh is. See it in the Hebrew here, okay? It's this Hodesh, ha-Hodesh here, this Hodesh, shall be the beginning. It says Rosh, okay? Rosh means head, can mean beginning. Shall be the beginning of Hodeshim, here the plural of Hodesh. It shall be the first Rishon Hodesh to you. The words to you don't exist in the Hebrew, because if you want to make something possessive in the Hebrew, you add a yod there to the end of the word Hodesh. So it's Hodeshi. Like we would add an apostrophe with an S if we wanted to make it possessive. they add a yod on the end. So this month shall be the beginning of months to you, shall be the first month of the year to you. In Numbers 10:10, it uses the same language. It's just told us here in Exodus 12 when the Rosh Hodesh is, when the beginning of Hodeshim is, okay? Just before they left, just before the Passover, that's where the Rosh Hodesh is. So it says, and in the day of your gladness and in your appointed times and at the beginning of your months. Doesn't say that in Hebrew, it says at your Rosh Hodeshi, okay? You can see that here, okay? Rosh Hodeshi, it's referring to the Rosh Hodeshi. It's okay, don't worry about it this time. Okay? At the beginning of months, we really need to get our heads around when we're looking at these scriptures and we see month throughout it, we need to not read it as month. That's something that the translators have put on top of it, okay? And it's not there at all. So it shall be at the head of your Chodeshim. Okay, when is it? Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and Aharon and told them exactly when it is. This Hodesh is the Rosh Hodeshi. So the point in time that they were at before the Passover, that was the Rosh Hodeshi. It was the head of the Hodeshim. Numbers 28:11 as well refers to this, and it says, and on the Rosh Hodeshi you shall bring a burnt offering to Yahuwah. So on this particular event, you bring a burnt offering. Job 38:31-33 gives us a little bit of an idea of these things. It says, do you bind the bands of Kimah or loosen the cords of Kesil? Okay, talking about constellations here. It says, do you bring the constellations in its season, or the Ma'atzeroth in Hebrew, in its season, or do you lead the bear with its sons? Okay, talking about these constellations. Do you know the laws of the heavens, or do you set their rule over the earth? Okay, we're trying to discern what the Hodesh are, and we're told that you're either going to get the Hodesh from the sun, the moon, or the stars. And the one part of the calendar that we've not looked at is the stars. So what are the Hodesh in the stars? Okay, the Rosh Hodeshi is the vernal equinox. That's the head of the year, the head of the Hodeshi. Then we've got 6 Hodesh after it, which happen to be what we would know in our culture as the signs of the zodiac. Okay? There are 12 signs of the zodiac. They're at fixed times every year. They last approximately a month. But they're not months, they're Hodeshim. Okay? Then, if you notice, this is what we need to know the beginning of the spring feasts. So every year, if we just know when the vernal equinox happens, that's the first day. That is the Rosh Hodeshi, okay, the head of the Hodesh. If we know when that happens, then we count 14 days from there until Passover. On the 15th day, the 21st day, but we can all go from when the equinox is, and everybody would know when the equinox was. The thing which starts the 7th month, which actually happens to end at the end of the 6th Hodesh, is the autumnal equinox. Okay, so then you know when the autumnal equinox is, and you can say the first day is the day of trumpets, the 10th day is Yom Kippur, the 15th day, Sukkot, go into whatever day. But all you need to know is those two things, and you can always work out the feasts, the days of the year. And then you've got another 6 Hodesh, which start with these. Every year, it's fixed. 12 every year. Okay? This is what Philo says in his treatise on Moses. He says, Moses puts down the beginning of the vernal equinox as marking the first Hodesh of the year. Remember, he's writing this in Hebrew. Okay? So Moses puts down the beginning of the vernal equinox. How does Moses put that down? Okay? It's the passage that we just looked at, where he says, this Hodesh will be the Rosh Hodeshi for you. Okay? In his treatise on the creation, he says, and the sun, the ruler of the day, making 2 equinoxes every year, both in the spring and in the autumn, the spring equinox in the constellation of Tala, or Aries, and the autumnal one in Libra. Okay? They're the only things you need to know, and then you can work out all of the feasts. Josephus in Antiquities says, The last of the annual festivals is that which we call the Feast of Tabernacles, which is fixed for the season of the autumnal equinox. It's so simple, isn't it? We don't need to be looking at all of these complicated things. It's just, when's the vernal equinox? Okay, so that marks the first day. 14 days from there. Okay, we'll have 15 days from there to the 21st day. You can work it all out. Dead simple. They all would have known this information. He just makes it incredibly easy. Okay, we know that there are 12 Hodesh in a year for certain. There are only ever 12 Hodesh. There are never 13 Hodesh in any year. Okay, the lunar calendar necessitates a 13th month every now and again, just kind of dependent on this or dependent on that. There are never 13 months in Scripture. Deuteronomy 1-3 says, and it came to be in the 40th year, in the 11th Hodesh, on the first day of the Hodesh. That makes sense now? Okay? And their drink offering is half a hin of wine for a bull, and 1/3 of a hin for a ram, and 1/4 of a hin for a lamb. This is the burnt offering for each Hodesh throughout the Hodeshim of the year. Okay, make perfect sense? Now this is a verse that when I believe the conjunction, because out of the sliver, the sighted moon and the conjunction, I would say it would have to be the conjunction because of this verse, but this verse doesn't even say what I thought it said. It says, and David said to Jehonathan, see, tomorrow is the new moon. Problem though, it doesn't say that in Hebrew. If it did say tomorrow is the new moon, then it couldn't be the sighted moon, could it? Because they weren't waiting to see the moon. Okay? But what it says in the Hebrew, it doesn't say Rosh Chodesh. It says Hodesh. Okay? Behold, tomorrow is the Hodesh. Again, this makes perfect sense when we understand it in this way. Okay, and it came to be the next day, the second day of the Hodesh, that David's place was empty. Some translations say second day of the new moon, which doesn't make sense in and of itself. But because of the tradition that a Hodesh is to do with the moon and therefore is a month, okay, it's translated variously. When we understand what a Hodesh actually is, then these things make perfect sense. At the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines came to be a year and 4 Hodesh, okay? 1 Chronicles 27, 1-15 says, and the children of Israel, according to their number, the heads of their fathers' houses, and the commanders of thousands and hundreds, and their officers, served the king in all matters of the divisions which came in and went out, Hodesh by Hodesh, throughout the Hodeshim of the year, each division having 24,000. Now, when I referred to this the other week, I said it was to do with the priestly order. It's to do with the division. Somebody pointed that out online, and they're correct. It's got nothing to do with the priestly order. This is what I was referring to, though. Okay, so Hodesh by Hodesh throughout all the Hodeshim of the year. How many Hodeshim are there in the year? Okay, the first Hodeshim, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. That was for every year. Okay? If there were 13 months, that wouldn't work. Ezekiel 47, verse 12 says, and by the bank of the stream on both sides grow all kinds of trees used for food, whose leaves do not wither and fruit do not fail. They bear fruit every Hodesh. Okay? When we see this referred to in Revelation 22, verse 1, it says, and he showed me a river of water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the middle of the street and on either side of the river was the tree of life, which bore how many fruits? How many months are there? 12 fruits. The tree yielding its fruit for every Hodesh. All 12 of them. Okay, so there's only 12 Hodesh. Doesn't work on a lunar calendar. Works perfectly when you look at the stars and you go, wow, these are in perfect sync all the way throughout the year. These will always give us the time clock. We'll always be able to know when the feasts are. We'll always be able to know when the months start. We'll know when the Rosh Chodeshi is. Genesis 7, verse 11 is something that we need to look at. It says, in the 600th year of Noach's life, in the second Hodesh, the 17th day of the Hodesh, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of the heavens were opened up. Okay, so second month, 17th day, that's when the flood starts, yeah? Genesis 8, 3-4 says, and the waters receded steadily from the earth, and at the end of the 150 days, the waters diminished. Okay, so at the end, there's been 150 days from the 17th of the second Hodesh. That's when the waters began to diminish. And then it says, and in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. So, how many months are there between the 2nd month, the 17th day, and the 7th month, the 17th day? 5. Okay. Now it says here, at the end of 150 days.
30 days.
Okay, that is what people will read from this. However, that's not what it says. It says that the flood started on the 17th of the 2nd, then at the end of 150 days the water diminished, then on the 7th day, the 17th month, the ark came to a rest. The presumption is that the ark came to a rest the same day that the waters began to diminish, but that doesn't ring true, does it? Okay, so there's not 30 days in every month, and this is what people will rely on to say that. Job 3 verse 8, this is another point. Okay, because there's another word that's used for month, and it is the word yeriach, which means moon. And again, it's just because of tradition that the moon is to do with the month, that sometimes when the word is used, they make it mean month rather than moon. But we're just going to look at some examples here. Okay, that night, let darkness seize it, let it not be included among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of months. Okay? If we look at the first bit of this, okay, it's saying here, as for that night, let darkness seize upon it, let not it be joined unto the days of the year, let it not come into the number of months, yeriach. Okay, not the word Hodesh here, the number of Hodeshim, it's the number of yeriach, or yeriachim for the plural. What I'm going to say is that when they've translated this as month, it's only because of tradition. It should never be translated as month. It should only ever be translated as moon. And I'm going to show you the examples where it's translated as month so that you can see. Let it not be included among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of moons. Does that make sense? Okay, the Hebrew parallelism where they say the same thing in two different ways. Let it not come into the number of days. Let it not come into the number of moons. Okay, makes perfect sense to me. Well, I don't know why they've made this month. Doesn't make sense, that translation to me. So I am allotted months of futility and nights of trouble. Again, Hebrew parallelism should read, I am allotted moons of futility, nights of trouble. Makes perfect sense. I'm allotted months of futility. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay, here is a verse where it's translated as moon, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, most of the time it is translated as moon because it is the Hebrew word for moon. It's not always because of tradition that the moon is something to do with the month when it's not at all. No longer does your sun go down, nor your moon withdraw itself. You see the parallelism again here? No longer does the sun go down, your moon withdraw itself. Okay, they can't translate it as month here. They couldn't say, no longer does your sun go down, nor your month withdraw itself. That would not make sense. Here are the references. Okay, this is all of the places where this word is used. What I would say to people who are watching online, or if you want to go back and look at the video later, go through all of these references just so you know for yourself. It's always moon, never translated as month. It's just another case of tradition, like the Hodesh, where they've translated that as month or new moon variously. It's just because of tradition. It's not because of truth. Psalm 81 verse 3 is a verse that we should look at. Blow the ram's horn at the time of the new moon. It doesn't say that. It says blow the ram's horn at the time of the Hodesh. At the time of, at the full moon on our festival day. And people will look at this and they'll say, look, see, it's to do with the moon. First point that I'd make though, is that the new moon and the full moon are different things. Okay? Pretty basic really. Okay? It says at the new moon, doesn't say anything about new, doesn't say anything about moon, it says Hodesh. So at the Hodesh, At the time appointed, the word is keseh. Again, it doesn't say anything about full. It doesn't say anything about moon. This is, if you actually look at the word keseh in Strong's, it will say that it's uncertain where it comes from. I think that this is the best translation, time appointed. But even if it was full moon, it wouldn't be saying anything about the moon being to do with the month. Okay? Genesis 1:14 again. Okay, if we look at it, it says, let them be for signs and appointed times, days and years, no mention of months. Okay, what it does mention is appointed times and days and years, which is funny because the Hodesh are appointed times. So let them be for appointed times, which includes the Hodesh, for days and years. No months. There's no such thing as a month. It's a pagan thing that we're all very used to. Numbers 28, 1-2. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, command the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, take heed to bring my food for my offerings, made by fire, as a sweet fragrance to me, at their appointed time, at their Moedim. Okay, this is what it was referring to in Genesis 1. And on the Rosh Chodeshim, you bring near a burnt offering to Yahuwah. So the Rosh Chodeshim is an appointed time. The Hodesh are appointed times. So we go from the Rosh Chodesh, the vernal equinox. We have the sequence of what we would call the zodiac signs. If you wanted just a quick reference for these, okay, you don't need to look at this. Just look at a horoscope page where it's got all of the zodiac signs, and it will give you the perfect months throughout the year. It's going to be the same every year as well. We're not going to be wondering, oh, what's happening with it, when will it be during the year? It's the same every year as you would expect it to be. The 365 days have got the same Hodesh all the way throughout. And then the autumnal equinox marks the beginning of the feasts. Work out the feasts, and then you can go from there just off the stars, just like you'd expect. So simple, no convoluted complication here. People want the calendar, you can go to our website, go to the resources tab. On there, if you go to the 2018-2019 calendar, all of the dates will be on there for you. So now we can read this correctly. In chapter 19 it says, in the third Hodesh, after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. For they set out from Rephidim and had come to the wilderness of Sinai and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped there before the mountain. Exodus 3:12, this is the prophecy that I was talking about before. It said, and he said, because I am with you, and this is the sign that I have sent you. When you have brought the people of Mitzrayim, when you have brought the people out of Mitzrayim, you are to serve Elohim on this mountain. So this prophecy that was given, okay, you're going to know that I've sent you because you're going to bring them out and you're going to be at this mountain. Moses must have just been looking around going, I can't believe this. It's all happened. And Moshe went up to Elohim, and Yahuwah called to him from the mountain. This is what you are to say to the house of Yaakov and declare to the children of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Mitzrites and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples. Again, he didn't just say, oh, you lot are great, you've come to me, you know who Yahuwah are. Don't worry about anything, Don't worry about obeying my voice. He says, if you do this and guard my covenant, you'll be my treasured possession above all the peoples. Okay? You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a set-apart nation. Those are the words which I speak to the children of Israel. And I point this out because it's going to become important in a second. Moshe came and called for the elders of the people and set before them all these words which Yahuwah commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that Yahuwah has spoken, we shall do. So Moshe brought back the words of the people to Yahuwah. Okay, so Moshe brought all of these words. He said, Yahuwah has just said, if you diligently obey my voice, guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession. You shall be a kingdom of priests and a set-apart nation. He brought all of those words to them, and they said, everything that Yahuwah has spoken, that we will do. People look at this, okay? They will come to this point where they accept the covenant. They'll say, what they've done is they've said, everything that Yahuwah has said, that we will do. And he'd only said a number of things in the Torah before then. So that's the covenant. And the covenant is separate from the Torah. They're missing something very important there. It says, and he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearing of the people, and they said, all that Yahuwah has spoken, we shall do and obey. Now we read this in little bits. We'll come to this bit, and we'll be like, oh, what did he say just before this bit? Okay, so they're going to do that, and that's the covenant. But they've said all that Yahuwah has spoken, even including the bit that they just said, all that Yahuwah has spoken, if you diligently obey my voice. Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, see the blood of the covenant which Yahuwah has made with you concerning all these words. And Moshe went up also Aharon, Nadav, and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel. And they saw the Elohim of Israel, and under his feet like a paved work of stone, and like the heavens for brightness. Yet he did not stretch out his hand against the chiefs of the children of Israel, and they saw Elohim, and they ate and drank. And what people will say we are priests in the order of Melchizedek now. We only do this covenant that was made just before here. Okay? As we've seen though, the word that was spoken to them included this. Now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant. Okay, so how are they to diligently obey his voice? Well, this is when they make the covenant. They say, all that he said we will do. Then the very next verse, the very next one, he says, Yahuwah said to Moshe, come up to me on the mountain and be there while I give you tablets of stone and the Torah and the command which I have written to teach them. So the covenant that they made was to do everything that he'd said, which included to obey his voice in everything he said. And now he says this and gives them everything that they're to do that they've just agreed to. So there's no separation between the covenant and the law. And even if there is, the covenant is a covenant to do the law. Okay? Yahuwah said to Moshe, see, I am coming to you in the thick cloud, so that the people hear when I speak with you and believe you forever. And Moshe reported the words of the people to Yahuwah. It's weird this, isn't it? To say, the people are going to believe you forever. Okay? We see in Yeshua's day that they're not doing this. They think, I believe in God, I believe in Moses, but they don't. Yeshua said, do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moshe, in whom you have set your expectation. For if you believed Moshe, you would have believed me, since he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how shall you believe my words? Okay? Seems oddly phrased, doesn't it? Okay? But we know, we've been through it, that to believe is to obey. It's to fully take it on and for it to be a part of you. And there can be no deviation from it because you believe it and it's truth. You know, you're not going to wander after falsehood knowing that it's false. The only way that you can wander after falsehood is if you think, oh, maybe that's better actually. Maybe I don't believe the words of Moshe. Maybe I'm going to go after this, or maybe I'm going to go after that. Verse 10 says, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, go to the people and set them apart today and tomorrow, and they shall wash their garments, and shall be prepared by the third day. From the third day Yahuwah shall come down upon Mount Sinai before all the eyes of the people. And you shall make a border for the people all around, saying, take heed to yourselves that you do not go up to the mountain or touch the border of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall certainly be put to death. Not a hand is to touch it, but he shall certainly be stoned or shot with an arrow. Whether man or beast, he shall not live. When the trumpet sounds long, let them come near to the mountain. And Moshe came down from the mountain to the people and set the people apart, and they washed their garments. So when we read over this, we kind of miss the fact that Moshe is going all the way up to the top of the mountain, then coming down, then going all the way up to the top, and then coming down to give them these words. And he said to the people, be prepared the third day. Do not come near a wife. And the reason that they were washed is so that they were clean. And the reason that they had to be clean and to not become unclean through sleeping with a wife was because Yahuwah was going to come down and be manifest among them. And it came to be on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of a ram's horn was very loud, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. So he's physically going to come down at this point. We see in Leviticus 15:31, it says, thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness. lest they die in their uncleanness when they defile my dwelling place, which is in their midst. So because he was physically in their midst, they couldn't become unclean. Just like here, he's going to physically be in their midst, so they had to prepare themselves in the proper way. And Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it, because Yahovah descended upon it in fire, and its smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and all the mountain trembled exceedingly. And when the blast of the ram's horn sounded long and became louder and louder, Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by voice. And Yahovah came down on Mount Sinai, on the top of the mountain, and Yahovah called to Moshe to the top of the mountain, called Moshe to the top of the mountain, and Moshe went up. And Yahovah said to Moshe, go down and warn the people, lest they break through unto Yahovah to see, and many of them fall. And let the priests who come near Yahovah set themselves apart too, lest Yahovah break out against them. And Moshe said to Yahovah, the people are not able to come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, make a border around the mountain and set it apart. And Yahovah said to him, come, go down, and then come up, you and Aharon with you. But do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to Yahovah, lest he break out against them. And Moshe went down to the people and spoke to them. Okay? Now these people were in a position where the mountain's trembling. Okay? They can hear Yahovah's voice. They can see all the thick darkness. Okay? It's tangible. It's real to them. They believed that he was real, and yet they still fell into disobedience. And we'll have a look as we go on at the idea of the fear of Yahovah and how it should be much greater in us, and how we can believe in Elohim, but it not come to be manifest in us in an actual true belief thing. But we'll take a break there. We'll come back in the second part, and in the second part we're going to be looking at his name. Okay, so just so everyone is totally clear on it, just to run through, you've got the beginning of the word of the year, the Rosh Hodeshim, that's the vernal equinox. Then you've got the 6 Hodesh that come from there. The vernal equinox every year actually starts one of the constellations. Okay, it's nothing pagan. The zodiac's not pagan. It's the Ma'at Sarath. Yah created them, the pagans corrupted them. After the 6th Hodeshim, there's the autumnal equinox, and that ends one of the constellations every year and begins the next set of 6. Okay, and that's just the calendar. Sure, people get it, just so that everybody's on the same page. So where we're at the moment, okay, we're going to look at the very beginning of the 10 words in this part, and we're going to particularly focus on his name, what it is to carry his name falsely. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahovah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. And it's funny, because if people got this one word out of the 10 commandments, all of the rest wouldn't be a problem. Okay? All of the rest of the commandments wouldn't be a problem if they just actually grasped what it was for Yahovah to be their Elohim, who led them out of the house of slavery. Not, I am Yahovah your Elohim, who leads you while you've still got one of your feet in the house of slavery. It's, I am Yahovah your Elohim. Your Elohim, that's what I am to you. Okay, you follow me because I am your Elohim. Everybody would just need to grasp this, and we've looked before at the concept of what it is to surrender yourself to Yahovah, what it is to offer yourself as a burnt offering. And if you do this, if you get that one commandment and you do that, then it won't come to this. When it comes to the other commandments, and you're like, not going to do them, not going to do them. Until the Holy Spirit comes down and tells me personally, I'm not going to do it. So then submit yourselves to Elohim, resist the devil and he shall flee from you. Draw near to Elohim and he shall draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and cleanse the heart, you double-minded. All of these things are just so simple. It's just phrased so simply, and yet people will hold on to their past lives and they won't be led out of the house of slavery. Romans 12 verse 1 says, I call upon you therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living offering. Again, these things just so simply phrased, and it's just a matter of just grasping what it's actually saying and going, oh yeah, my life's not my own. I am an offering before Elohim. Now he's bought me with a price. 1 Corinthians 16, 19 to 20, or do you not know that your body is the dwelling place of the Holy Spirit who is in you, which you have from Elohim, and that you are not your own? When you hear that, do you think, I am my own, I make all the decisions, and, sometimes I'll decide to do the law of God, and sometimes I'll decide to not do it. Okay? You were bought with a price. Okay? These things, just really meditate on some of these things. Just choose one of these scriptures and meditate on it and see what it actually means for you to not be making the decisions in your life for Yahuwah to be your Elohim. Joshua 22 verse 5, only diligently guard to do the command and the Torah which Moshe the servant of Yahuwah commanded you, to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to uphold his commands, and to cling to him, and to serve him with all your heart and all your soul. It's so simple, isn't it? It's so simply phrased, and yet so few people will grasp hold of it and actually say, that is the case. I've just submitted everything, Lord, it's yours. For who of you wishing to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Okay, we all know what's required of us. Who doesn't, though, sit down first and go, am I actually prepared to do this? Have I counted the cost of doing this? Or am I kind of going to play a game and do a bit of it and kind of call myself Yahuwah's people, but not really submit to him? Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is unable to finish it, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was unable to finish. I think this is actually a large reason why people who have started on this walk continue on this walk, because they're like, I've invested myself in it now. I can't just stop and say, oh yeah, all of that stuff about Yahuwah, it wasn't true actually. Okay? Count the cost and see whether or not you're prepared to do what is required. Either this or this. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, or Yahuwah, he's brilliant. We are Israel. Not doing that. One or the other. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. This is what we know to be true, and we know what this is a picture of. So he continues and says the second word, you have no other gods against my face. Okay, and we've looked before what that is. We've seen the scripture that tells us that if we are elevating things above him, then it's idolatry, and that is having other gods before his face. It's saying, I would be your person, you're one of your people, but this is more important to me. Every time you're tested and you choose to do something that you know is abhorrent to Yahuwah, you're choosing that thing above him. You are actually having a God above him, before his face. It's you calling yourself, I'm Yahuwah's people, and then saying, but this is actually what I choose. I say this with my mouth, but I do this with my actions. Okay? And we've looked at these before. Okay? Working on Shabbat. Where is your job going to be when everything else is crumbling? Where's your job going to be when you stood before Yahuwah? You've got to give account for your life, and that's it then. There's no more choices. Everything's taken out of your hand. He is Elohim then, and it's whether or not you've made him your Elohim. Okay? Where is that fag that you so crave, that you put before him every time? Where's that going to be when you stood before him? It's just going to be such a joke, isn't it? It's going to be so transparent. You're going to feel just everything's going to crumble out from underneath you, and you'll realize, what was I doing? How have I put this above Yahuwah? You're going to know in that moment that that's what you've done, whether or not you acknowledge it in this moment. Okay? In films, the entertainment, the things that are abhorrent to him, the sin that is contained in these things, watching it for entertainment and saying, I like this, I'm drinking in these other people's sin. It talks in scripture, doesn't it, about not just the ones who do the sin, but the ones who take pleasure in the ones who do the sin. Okay? Music that is not derived of Yahuwah, is satanically derived. Okay? You might think, I'm just going to throw on a song. I like it, I'm just going to enjoy it in the moment. But where is it going to be? Where is that fleeting pleasure going to be? You're going to have chosen the pleasures of sin over Yahuwah. You're going to have had another God before his face, and you're just going to know in that moment, I can't believe I've done this. You do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your Elohim, am a jealous ale, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me. So the problem is, somebody wrote an email the other day and they were talking about carved images, and they were saying, should we just not have any image of anything if it's in the heavens above or the earth beneath? Are we just not allowed to have it? Well, the issue is this, isn't it? Bowing down to serve them, to give worship to those things, to have an image of something isn't in and of itself a problem, but it's in the context of this, of having God before him. It's part of the second word. It's part of this worship of these things. But show kindness to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. You do not carry the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, falsely, for Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who carries his name falsely. And this is something that we need to understand. We need to understand what it's talking about. All these times when it mentions his name, doing this in my name, in the name of Yeshua, we cast the demons out of you. What does that actually mean? Does it just mean we're saying his name and we're just attaching his name to it? Okay? Name of Yahuwah. This is Yahuwah's name, high and lifted up, by the way. It can be what he's called. Can be what we would call an appellation. Okay, in French, if you were to say my name is, you would say je m'appelle. Okay, that's where we get the name appellation. It means your literal name, what you're called. Okay, your designation. And it can refer to that when it's in the scriptures. And this is what people make most of the scriptures about when they have, verses about his name. They'll make it about the literal name. And they'll say, no, you must pronounce the name right, because there's only one name under heaven by which people are saved. And it's Yehovah. It's Yehevo. Yohovo. Okay, I think you're getting the wrong end of the stick. We see in Genesis 3:20, and the man called his wife's name Chava, Eve. Okay, so it's talking about her name there. 2 Kings 21 verse 19. Amon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. And the name of his mother was Meshulameth. Okay, again, that's actually her name, what she was called. Now, what someone's name is called has a greater significance than even that in scriptures. So we're still talking about their appellation, what they're actually called. So that is why its name was called Babylon. Because there, Yahuwah confused the language of all the earth. Babylon, or Babel in the Hebrew, means confusion. It's saying that's why it was called confusion, because he confused the languages there. In Acts 13, verse 8, we see another example of this. It says, but Elumas, the magician, for so his name is translated. Okay, that's what his name actually meant. He was the magician. Often in scripture, it will mean that, but usually it's kind of associated with when it says, and he was called this, he was called that. Not always. So yes, it does mean the actual name, but it means something far greater when it's talking about the verses that other people like to use to take the physical name and say, it's all about this, you're only saved in one name and you must pronounce it correctly. So another thing that it means is someone's reputation or their fame. In Genesis 6, verse 4, it says, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were of the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. Okay, you've probably read this verse before with men of renown in it, but in the Hebrew it says men of Shem, okay, men of name. Again, Numbers 16:2, when Korah came and he rebelled against Moshe and Aharon. It says, and they rose up before Moshe with some of the children of Israel, 250 leaders of the congregation, called ones of the meeting, men of name. So again, it's important men of reputation, men of fame. Genesis 11 verse 4 says, and they said, come, let us build ourselves a city in a tower whose top is in the heavens, and make a name for ourselves. Okay, you want to take verses like this and make it about the literal name? Is this what they were talking about? Come, let us make names for ourselves. Not what they were talking about. And the name of David went out into all lands, and Yahuwah put the dread of him upon all nations. Okay? What it doesn't mean is this. Okay? Pretty simple, isn't it? Okay, these things, we can look at them and go, that's ridiculous, because we've got these sort of references in our culture. We can understand someone making a name for themselves. That's an idiom that we have within our culture. And some of the ones in Scripture we can understand, and some of the ones in Scripture don't exist in our culture, so we need to look at the context and see what's being said. And this is what Ben Yahu, son of Yehoyada, did, and won a name among the three mighty men. He's won a name. Yay! And I shall make you a great nation and bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. Okay? It shall be your wisdom, your reputation before men when you carry the Torah before them. I'll make your name great. And he shall give their kings into your hand, and you shall destroy their name from under the heavens. We don't really talk about destroying someone's name, but we can kind of understand what it means in the context of the other things that we understand. And you shall break down their altars and smash their pillars and burn their asherim with fire. And you shall cut down the carved images of their gods and shall destroy their name out of that place. But do not do so to Yahuwah your Elohim, but seek the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses out of all your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling place. There you shall enter. So destroy those out of the land so that there's no recognition of them anymore. Go to the place where Yahuwah puts his name. When any man takes a wife and shall go into her and shall hate her and shall make abusive charges against her and bring an evil name on her and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I did not find her a maiden. Bring an evil name on her again. It's not something that we've really got in our culture. We can kind of understand what it means, but we all understand that it doesn't mean this. Okay? A good name is preferable to great riches. Okay? It's not going, oh, Jeremy, that's a fantastic name. I'd rather be called Jeremy than be dead loaded. Okay? For Yahuwah would not cast away his people for his great name's sake. Okay? So we can understand, we're getting a little bit of a taste here of what it can mean. Also, concerning a foreigner who is not of your people Israel, but has come from a far land for your name's sake. He's heard of Yahuwah, so he's come there. Since they hear of your great name and your strong hand and your outstretched arm, and he shall come and pray towards this house. Okay, so again, we're getting a little bit of an aspect of what his name means. Why a foreigner would come like us from a foreign land, because we hear of his great name. Here in the heavens your dwelling place, and do according to all which the foreigner calls to you, so that all the peoples of the earth know your name and fear you, as do your people Israel, and know that this house which I have built is called by your name. O Yahuwah, there is none like you, nor is there any Elohim beside you, according to all that we have heard with our ears. And who is like your people Yisrael, the one nation on the earth, whom Elohim went to redeem for himself as a people, to make yourself a great and awesome name by driving out nations from before your people. Okay, his name was in the nations round about. This is talking about Solomon again? No, not what it's talking about. King Herodes heard, for his name had become well known. This is Yeshua. It's not like when Yeshua was born, the name of Yeshua it wasn't very well known. But then after a while, loads of people were calling their kids Yeshua. So Herod had heard of him because his name had become well known. Not what it's talking about. Your brothers who hate you, who cast you out for my name's sake. Okay? It's talking here about people who will reject us because we are actually standing on the Lord's word, okay? As a matter of his reputation, whether or not they esteem him because of the name that he has, the reputation that he has, the things that he asked for or not, these people don't. Blessed are you when men shall hate you, and they shall cut you off, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as wicked, for the sake of the Son of Adam, for the sake of Yeshua. Father, esteem your name. Then a voice came from the heaven, I have both esteemed it and shall esteem it again. I have raised you up to show my power in you, and that my name be declared in all the earth. This is what was said to Pharaoh. Okay? Pharaoh was born He lived out his life. He had a hard heart to Yahuwah so that Yahuwah could bring that punishment upon Egypt, so that he could lead the Israelites out, and so that his reputation would go forth into the earth. The other thing that it can mean, and this is another thing that we have the kind of the cultural context to understand, is on behalf of. But David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of Yahuwah Sabaoth." Okay? David comes in the name of Yahuwah. Woo! What he means. David said to go out and greet him in my name. Again, we can understand these things because we've got the cultural context. But imagine we didn't have the cultural context, how people could get these things skewed, like other people get verses about his name skewed, okay? They could come along and believe that what he was saying is, come and greet him in my name. They try and get their heads around it. They've got this in their mind, okay? This is how wrong. We can recognize these things as wrong, as ridiculous, but this is how wrong it is to use these other verses in the way that some people are. Romans 1:1-5 says, Shaul, a servant of Yeshua, Messiah, a called apostle, separated to the good news of Elohim, which he promised before through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures, concerning his son, who came of the seed of David according to the flesh, who was designated son of Elohim with power according to the Holy Spirit by the resurrection from the dead, Yeshua Messiah, the master of us, through whom we have received favor and the office of apostle for belief obedience among the nations on behalf of his name. Okay, it was sent out on behalf of him. John 17 says, and I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Set apart, Father, guard them in your name, which you have given me. Okay, so Yeshua went forth on behalf of Yahuwah with his name. Okay, guard them in your name as I have gone forth that you've given me. When I was with them in the world, I was guarding them in your name. I was guarding them on behalf of you, which you have given me. Blessed is he who is coming in the name of Yahuwah. People get this so mixed up, okay? They're not even thinking that it's in the Psalms. They're thinking of it from Matthew 23 when he said, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, killing the prophets and stoning those who are sent to her. How often I wish to gather your children together the way a hen gathers their chickens under her wings, but you would not. See, your house is left to you desolate or laid waste. For I say to you, from now on you shall by no means see me until you say, blessed is he who is coming in the name of Yahuwah. And you'll notice in this translation they've actually capitalized it, because people think that this is talking about Yeshua. You're not going to see me, Yeshua, until you say, blessed is Yeshua. That's not what it's saying. It's saying, look, you're killing the prophets, stoning those who are sent to you, those who have been sent in the name of Yahuwah, on behalf of him. So you're not going to see me, the Mashiach, until you say, blessed are those who come on behalf of Yahuwah. Okay? This is one of the most important aspects of his name. And we've touched on this many times before. I'm going to show you some verses so that you can see just how kind of intimately linked it is with saying things about Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, even this word you have spoken, I shall do. For you have found favor in my eyes, and I know you by name. Okay, he's talking to Moshe here. He's not going, you're Moshe, aren't you? I know you by name. He's saying, I know your character, Moshe. Then he said, please show me your esteem. And he said, I shall cause all my goodness to pass before you, and I shall proclaim the name of Yahuwah before you. How do we know that this is about character? When Yahuwah goes before him and proclaims his name. Exodus 34, the next chapter says, and Yahuwah passed before him and proclaimed. This is how he does it. This is how he proclaims his name. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, an Eol, compassionate and showing favor, patient, great in kindness and truth. Okay? Watching over kindness for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, but by no means leaving unpunished, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the third and fourth generation. So this is his name. This is his character. It's a description of who he is. This is why it makes such a nonsense of the idea of the law having been done away with. They would be saying that his name had been done away with, that this was no longer his character. Numbers 6, 23 to 27 says, speak to Aharon and his sons, saying, this is how you bless the children of Israel. Say to them, Yahuwah bless you and guard you. Okay, elements of his character there. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Exactly what he was saying. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Then it says, thus they shall put my name on the children of Israel. How? By declaring his character over them. That is to put his name upon them. Deuteronomy 28, Yahuwah does establish you as a set-apart people to himself, as he has sworn to you. If you guard the commands of Yahuwah your Elohim and walk in his ways, you're taking his name upon yourself. You're taking his character on yourself. And all the peoples of the earth shall see that the name of Yahuwah is called upon you. All the peoples of the earth probably have no idea what Yahuwah's actual name is. But if you walk in his ways, if you guard his covenant, then they will see him in you. It's like when Yeshua says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I've come in his name, in his character. 1 Kings 8 says, when your people Israel are smitten before an enemy because they have sinned against you, and they shall turn back to you and confess your name. Okay, what do? We turn back and we confess our sin. It says, then hear in the heavens and forgive the sin of your people Israel and bring them back to the land which you gave to their fathers. So when they turn back to you, when they recognize your character as one who forgives iniquity, when you turn back and you walk in his ways, okay, and when they take that character upon themselves, they confess your name, they confess what your character is, they confess their guilt according to that, then hear and forgive their sin. And those who know your name trust in you. Okay? It's not talking about those who know the pronunciation of Yod He Vav He. Of course it's not. Saying those who know who you are, they know your character, they trust in you because they truly get who you are. They are the ones who believe in you. They know you. Okay? We have thought, O Elohim, of your kindness in the midst of your chikel, okay, the temple, according to your name, O Elohim. So, your kindness according to your name. But my trustworthiness and my kindness are with him, and in my name his horn is exalted. Because he cleaves to me in love, therefore I deliver him. I set him on high because he has known my name. What does he say as part of his name? That he delivers us, that he forgives us of iniquity. Okay? Because he cleaves to me in love, therefore I deliver him, because he knows that that is part of my character. Therefore he can call upon that element of my character. In your name they rejoice all day long, and they are exalted in what? Your righteousness. But you, O Yahuwah, Master, deal with me for your name's sake. Okay, deal with me according to your name, according to your character, because your kindness is good. Deliver me. All of these things are how he proclaims himself to be when he says, I'll go before you and I'll proclaim your name. All of these references to his name are all in accordance with that. Your words were found and I ate them, and your word was to me the joy and rejoicing of my heart. Why? Your name is called on me, O Yahuwah Elohim Zevayot. Okay, because his name is called on that person, because they've got his character, then his word was to them joy and rejoicing. And I shall turn back the captivity of Yehudah and the captivity of Yisrael, and shall build them as at the first, and shall cleanse them from their iniquity that they have sinned against me, and I shall pardon all their iniquities that they have sinned and by which they have transgressed against me. And it shall be to me a name of joy, a praise, and a pride before the nations of the earth, who hear all the good I am doing to them, and they shall fear and tremble, and all the goodness and all the peace I am doing to it. So it will make more sense now when you read these scriptures and see the actual descriptions of who he is. That when it talks about his name like that, it's talking about the name that he proclaimed before Moshe. It says in Luke 24, then he opened their minds to understand the scriptures, and he said to them, thus it has been written, and so it was necessary for the Messiah to suffer and to rise again from the dead the third day, and that repentance and forgiveness of sins should be proclaimed in his name, because it is part of his character to do those things. John 3:18-20 says, He who believes in him is not judged, but he who does not believe is judged already, because he has not believed in the name of the only brought forth Son of Elohim. Okay, to believe in it, to know his name, to trust in it, because it's fully you. You accept these things as reality. This is the judgment, that the light has come into the world. His character, his name has come into the world. And men loved the darkness rather than the light, for their works were wicked. This is being against his name, against his character. For everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his work should be reproved or exposed. Okay? So here, because he has not believed in the name of the only brought forth Son, not believed in the character, so the light's come into the world, he's rejected it, he'd rather continue walking on in his evil, he's rejected the name because he's not believed in it, therefore he's not saved. Well, he who believes in him is not judged. Okay? Why is he not judged? It's not because he's taken upon himself a mystical title of I'm a Christian. It's because he's believed in his name, he's repented, he's turned to his character, and then he stands before Yahuwah as the representation of Yahuwah that he has strived to become. John 10:24-26 says, so the Yehudim surrounded him and said to him, how long do you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, say to us plainly. Yeshua answered them, I have told you and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness concerning me. But you do not believe because you are not of my sheep, as I said to you. So again, it's the whole thing of the light's come into the world. It's come bearing the name of the Father, okay, the character of the Father. Some men believe and some men don't. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, for that reason the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they shall persecute you too. If they have guarded my word, they will guard yours too. But all this they do to you because of my name, because of the character. Again, the light's come into the world, men have rejected it. They do this to you because of my character, because they do not know him who sent me. They don't know his name, they don't know his character. It's all completely alien to them. O righteous Father, indeed the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew you that sent me. Okay, the ones that respond to the light when the light comes into the world. And I have made your name known to them, and shall make it known, so that the love with which you have loved me might be in them, and I in them. Okay? When it says, I have revealed your name to them, it's not saying, come over here, look. Yahuwah. That's how you say it. I'm sure, I know in fact that this is how a lot of people understand this verse. I've revealed your name to them. You know, whatever pronunciation, that's the name above all names. Colossians 3:17, and whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Master Yeshua. Easy to understand now, isn't it? Do it all in the Master, in the character of the Master. I write to you, little children, because your sins have been forgiven on account of his name. He's forgiven you because it's his character too. And that no one should be able to buy or sell except that he has the mark of the beast, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now this gets interesting here, okay? The number of his name. Where do you have the mark of the beast? You have it on your hand, you have it on your forehead. Okay, the things that you do and things that you think. Interestingly, it says in Revelation 14:1, and I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written on their foreheads. They're sealed, okay, against all of the harm that's going to come on the world in their foreheads. The Father's name is written there. Just like the other people have got the mark of the beast on their foreheads and on their hands. These people who escaped from it have the Father's name. And a third messenger followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast in his image and receives the mark upon his forehead or upon his hand. Okay, so we know the mark of the beast and the name of the beast. If it's his character, the mark, what you do and what you say, and the name of the beast, it's talking about the same thing, or aspects of the same thing. Revelation 17:5 says, and upon her forehead a name written. Okay, this is the whore of Babylon. Okay, she's got a name written on her head as well. She's got a character. And on his robe and on his thigh, he has a name written. This is when Yeshua returns. His thigh is a symbol of his authority. Okay, like your hand and your head. Upon his thigh, upon the symbol of his authority, he has a name written. And they shall see his face. This is talking about the believers in the millennium. They shall see his face and his name upon their foreheads. Okay? Again, if we don't really have the cultural context for this to understand it. But does everyone understand now exactly what it's talking about? Okay, it's also used to speak of him as a whole. Okay? You can understand these things. Anytime it will come up in Scripture, we'll be able to understand it. O Yahuwah, our Master, how excellent is your name in all the earth. Again, you've got all the sacred names. How excellent is the name Yahuwah. It's so excellent. It's brilliant. No, not what it's talking about. And let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because you shelter them, and let those who love your name exult in you. And of course, when it's talking about him as a whole, it's talking about all the different aspects which it draws upon: his character, his authority, etc. Therefore I give thanks to you, O Yahuwah, among nations, and I sing praises to your name. Okay? Not talking about this. Okay? How simple does it have to be for people? But I don't know, with all of these things, with the calendar that we were looking at before, you'll get people who just get in that's the most important thing in the world to them. Okay? And it really reveals the heart of the person, I think. And I'm well past debating with people over all of these things, because it just reveals their heart. It reveals what's really important to them. If the most important thing to them is not walking in righteousness, it's not walking in his Torah and getting right before him, but they'd rather concentrate on the calendar or what his name actually is and how it's pronounced, then I just think leave them to it. And it shall be that unto the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell there, again, him as a whole. Shout with joy to Elohim, all the earth. Sing out the splendor of his name. Make his praise be esteemed. We shall give you thanks, O Elohim. We shall give thanks, and your name is near. Your wonders declare. They praise your name, great and awesome. It is set apart. Set apart and awesome is his name. Okay? Let your name be set apart. Can refer to him in all of the aspects that we'll look at, everything that we've seen. I have revealed your name to the men whom you've given me out of the world. I've revealed who you are. I've revealed the totality. I cause your name to be remembered in all generations. And this is a real stickler with the sacred name people. I cause your name to be remembered. It's us, it's the sacred namers. We're causing his name to be remembered. Everyone will remember his name now because we bang on about it all the time. Other thing that it means is his authority, and this is where it starts to get interesting, because we've got people going around casting out demons in the name of Yahuwah, or in the name of Yeshua, healing in the name of Yeshua, and we've really got to understand what's going on there. Exodus 23:20-21 says, See, I am sending an angel before you to guard you in the way and bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be on your guard before him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he is not going to pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. Name, the messenger came forth with his authority. Again, it's not this. It's not this. You know exactly what it is. This is talking of his authority as it is here. It says, And when the Levite comes from one of your gates, from where he is sojourned among all Israel, he shall come with the desire of his being to the place which Yahuwah chooses. And he shall serve in the name of Yahuwah his Elohim. He's serving in his authority here. Okay, he comes on behalf of, in the name of, he serves in the authority of. Ephesians 1:20-22 says, Which he wrought in the Messiah when he raised him from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenlies, far above all rule and authority and power and mastery and every name that is named. Okay, so here we begin to see, when it's talking about his authority and his power, okay, in these things he is above every name that is named. Every authority that there is, he is above it. And he put all under his feet and gave him to be head over all to the assembly. This is really important to us because this is part of baptism, and it's part of how we are actually saved, that Yeshua was given this authority. Okay, so point one that we grasp, Yeshua was given all of this authority. Philippians 2:5-10 says, "For let this mind be in you, which was also in Messiah Yeshua, who being in the form of Elohim did not regard equality with Elohim a matter to be grasped, but emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, and came to be in the likeness of men. And having been found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Elohim, therefore, has highly exalted him and given him the name which is above every name." This is his authority. "That at the name, at the authority of Yeshua, every knee should bow, of those in heaven and of those on earth, or of those under the earth." In Matthew 28, it says, "And Yeshua came up and spoke to them, saying, All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth." Okay, this is how he prefaces his statement. I've got all authority. Then he says, "Therefore, because I've got all authority, go and make disciples of all the nations, immersing them in my authority, in my name." Okay? "And Cephas said to them, Repent and let each one of you be immersed in the name of Yeshua Messiah." So to be immersed in the name of Yeshua Messiah is to be immersed in his authority. Okay? 1 Peter 3:20-22 shows us why it has to be in his authority that we are immersed. "Who were disobedient at one time when the patience of Elohim waited in the days of Noah." These are the spirits that Yeshua went and preached to. "While the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that is 8 beings, were saved through water." And that says that this is a type, it's a figure, it's a picture of something. It says, "Which figure now also saves us, immersion, not a putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of a good conscience towards Elohim through the resurrection of Yeshua Messiah, who having gone into heaven is at the right hand of Elohim. Messengers and authorities and powers have been subjected to him." So he has got the authority to give us a good conscience before Elohim. He has taken on the name of Yahuwah. He is the one who is declared the judge of the whole earth. That is why we have to be baptized in his authority, because it is his authority to do this. 1 Corinthians 1 says, "And I appeal to you, brothers, by the name of our Master Yeshua Messiah, by his authority, that you all agree and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be knit together in the same mind and in the same opinion. For I have been informed concerning you, my brothers, by those of the house of Chloe, that there are strifes among you. What I mean is this, that each one of you says, I am of Shaul, or I am of Apollos, or I am of Kepha, or I am of Messiah. Has Messiah been divided? Was Shaul crucified for you, or were you immersed in the authority of Shaul? I thank Elohim that I immersed not one of you except Crispus and Gaius, that no one should say I immersed you into my own authority." Okay, because if he was to do that, then Paul doesn't have the authority to give us a good conscience before Elohim. Acts 22 says, "And a certain Hananiah, a dedicated man according to the Torah, being well spoken of by all the Yehudim dwelling there, came up to me and stood by me and said to me, Brother Shaul, look up. And at that same hour, I looked up to him, at him. And he said, the Elohim of our fathers has appointed you to know his will and to see the righteous one and to hear the voice from his mouth, because you shall be his witness to all men of what you have seen and heard. And now, why do you delay? Rise up, be immersed, and wash away your sins." How? Calling on the authority, the name of Yahuwah. John 1 says that he was the true light which enlightens every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to him, came to be through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become the children of Elohim, to those believing in his authority, in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the desire of flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. Acts 3, 6-7 says, "And Cephas said, I do not have silver or gold, but what I possess, this I give you. In the authority of Yeshua Messiah of Nazareth, rise up and walk." Okay, so this was them healing in his name. This is what it's about. It's his authority that was given to these people to do these things. And taking him by the right hand, he lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones were made firm. In Acts 3 later we see exactly why. It says, and seeing it, Kepha responded to the people, men of Israel, why do you marvel at this? Or why do you look so intently at us? As though by our own power or reverence we have made him walk. By our authority we've made him walk. The Elohim of Abraham and of Yitzchak and Yaakov, and the Elohim of our fathers esteemed his servant Yeshua, whom you delivered up and denied in the presence of Pilate when he decided to release him. But you denied the set apart and righteous one, and asked that a man, a murderer, be granted to you. But you killed the leader of life, whom Elohim raised up from the dead, of which we are witnesses. And by belief in his name, but belief in his authority, that he has the authority to do these things, this one whom you seek and know, his name made strong, his authority. We're doing these things in his authority. Acts 16:16-18. It says, and it came to be as we went to prayer that a certain slave girl possessed with the spirit of Puthon did meet us, who brought her masters much profit by foretelling. Having followed Shaul and us, he cried out, saying, these men are the servants of the Most High Elohim, who proclaim to us the way of deliverance. And she was doing this for many days, but Shaul, greatly annoyed, turned and said to the spirit, I command you in the name of Yeshua Messiah to come out of her, in the authority of Yeshua Messiah. So when did they receive the authority of Yeshua to heal and to cast out demons? In James 5-14, you have to bear with me. The slides in this are in a different order because I've, for some reason, not got the right save. Other people that have the authority to heal, it says, is anyone among you sick? Let him call for the elders of the assembly and let them pray over him, having him anointed him with oil in the authority of the master. So the elders of the assembly also carry the authority of Yeshua to heal. Acts 4:1-12 says, and as they were speaking to the people, the priests and the captain of the set-apart place and the Sadducees came upon them, being annoyed because they taught the people and announced the resurrection from the dead and Yeshua. And they arrested them and put them in jail until the next day, for it was already evening. But many of those who had heard the word believed, and the number of the men became about 5,000. And it came to be on the next day that their rulers and elders and scribes assembled in Jerusalem, as well as Hanan the high priest, and Caiaphas, and Yochanan, in Alexander, and as many as were of the high priestly descent. And having placed them in the middle, they asked, by what power or by what name do you do this? By what authority do you do this? Then Kepha, filled with the Holy Spirit, said to them, rulers of the people and elders of Israel, if today we are called to account for a good deed towards a sick man by whom he has been healed, let it be known to all of you and to all the people of Israel that in the authority of Yeshua, Messiah of Nazareth, whom you crucified, this stone which was rejected by you, the builders, has become the chief cornerstone, and there is no deliverance, no salvation in anyone else, for there is no other authority under heaven given among men by which we need to be saved. See, we can skip over these things. There's no other authority under heaven given among men. When was it given? When was his name given? It's the authority that was given to Yeshua over all these names, over all authorities. Acts 8:12 says, and when they believed Philip as he brought the good news about the kingdom of Elohim and the authority of Yeshua Messiah, both men and women were immersed. It's in his authority that this happens. John 2:23 says, and when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover at the festival, many believed in his name. When did they believe in his name? What caused them to believe in this part of his name? When they saw the signs that he was doing. So they believed that he came with power and authority when they saw the signs that he was doing. For some reason there's a slide missing out there, but basically what I was going to say is, in Luke 9, at the beginning of Luke 9, we see when these people were given the authority to do these things in his name, and this ties it together with the being in his authority. It says that Yeshua sent out the 12, and he gave them authority to cast out demons and to heal the sick. It doesn't say that he gave them his name, but that's what they were doing. They were going out and doing it in his name. So here's the idea of calling on his name. 1 Kings 18:24 says, and you shall call on the name of your God. This is Elijah, okay, he's saying to the prophets of Baal, you call on the name of your God, and I'll call on the name of Yahuwah. So how do they call upon the name of their God? Because we think we've got an idea of what it is to call upon the name of Yahuwah. And it's so important in the scriptures what it is to call upon the name of Yahuwah. So it's important for us to understand it. It says, so they took the bull that was given them and prepared it and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, oh, Baal, answer us. So what were they doing when they were calling on his name? They were praying to him. That's what it is to call on his name. Not the only aspect, though, which we'll see. Psalm 116, 4-7 says, then I called on the name of Yahuwah. Okay, what does he do when he calls on the name of Yahuwah? He says, oh, Yahuwah, I pray to you. That is calling on his name. Deliver my soul. And here we see another aspect of what it is to call upon his name. It's calling upon his character. Okay? Deliver my soul. That is part of his character, as we saw. Yahuwah shows favor and is righteous, and our Elohim is compassionate. You see how he's calling upon the name. This is such an important part of prayer, okay, that all of us neglect. When we pray to Yahuwah, we call upon his character. We say, these are the things that are written of you in the scriptures. I know you. I trust in your name, in your character. By calling on these aspects of your character, I'm calling upon you to be as you've said. I'm calling upon your name. Yahuwah guards the simple. I was brought low, but he saved me. Return to your rest, O my soul, for Yahuwah has treated you well. 1 Chronicles 16, 7-10 says, and on that day David first gave thanks to Yahuwah by the hand of Asaph and his brothers. Give thanks to Yahuwah, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the people. Sing to him, sing praise to him, speak of all his wonders. Again, it's calling up on his character, saying who he is. You know, you're calling upon him in a situation and he's saying, I want you to help me with this because it is your character to do these things. Okay, again, quote the Psalms, quote what was said before in the book of Exodus. Say to him who he is, call upon his character when you're calling out to him. Boast in his set-apart name. Boast in his character when you're calling out to him. Let the hearts of those seeking Yahuwah rejoice. And from there, okay, and it elucidates this passage in Genesis 12, verse 8. This is talking about Abraham. It says, and from there he moved to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there an altar to Yahuwah and called on the name of Yahuwah. So what was he doing? Yahuwah had revealed himself to Abraham. He called him to go out of the land. And what does he do? He comes to the place that he was called to. He sets up an altar and he calls upon his name and he prays to him. Acts 2:21 says, and it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah shall be saved. Okay, does this statement now make sense? It's not, whatever pronunciation. Everybody who gets the pronunciation right shall be saved. And you will encounter many people who think that. Another interesting point for people. Okay, what is it to ask in his name? Whatever you ask in my name, it shall be done for you. Okay? John 14:12, verse 15 says, truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he shall do also, and greater works than these he shall do, because I go to my Father. And whatever you ask in my name, that I shall do, in order that the Father might be esteemed in the Son. If you ask whatever in my name, I shall do it. People get confused about this. I know Charlie knows somebody who basically said that they don't believe in God because they asked in Yeshua's name for a girlfriend and he didn't get a girlfriend. And it's like, well, it's obviously nonsense, isn't it? The Bible says, whatever you ask in my name, it will be given for you. If you love me and shall guard my commands. Okay? Really, really important. John 16:23-24 says, and in that day you shall ask me none at all. Truly, truly, I say to you, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he shall give you. Until now you have asked naught in my name. Ask and you shall receive, in order that your joy may be complete. 1 John 3:21-24 says, beloved ones, if our heart does not condemn us, we have boldness towards Elohim. If our heart doesn't condemn us, really important bit, if you guard my commandments, okay, if our heart doesn't condemn us, we can have boldness towards Elohim. And whatever we ask, we receive from him because we guard his commands and do what is pleasing in his sight. This is key. This is the thing that is missing in most people's estimations of this, okay? If you guard his commands, if you do what's pleasing in his sight, then what you ask of him in the name of Yeshua, in Yeshua's character, you can't go, I'd like a Lambo, please. Not going to work. This is his command, that we should believe in the name of his son, Yeshua Messiah, and love one another as he gave us command. Again, it's all of these things that people don't understand what they mean. Believing in his name, trusting in his name, knowing what his name is, walking in his name. This is why people don't get it right. And the one guarding his command stays in him, and he in him. And by this we know that he stays in us by the Spirit which he gives us. We're not doing this, okay? All of the idea of asking Elohim and him giving us it is not going to come true. 1 John 5:13-15 says, I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Elohim. Okay, so only the people who believe in the name of the Son of Elohim. Most people think that they do, don't they? If you walked into any Christian church and said, do you believe in the name of Yeshua? They'd be like, yeah, definitely. So that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Elohim. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his will, okay, he hears us. You don't just read one verse out of Scripture and make some kind of fantastical doctrine about it. You've got to read all of it and understand exactly what it's saying, okay? Whatever we ask according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we asked of him. We know that. If we know that he hears us, how do we know that he hears us if we ask whatever according to his will? This brings us back to where we started, and we'll end in a minute. Okay, what it is to carry the name falsely. Leviticus 22:32 says, and do not profane my set-apart name, and I shall be set apart among the children of Israel. I am Yahuwah who set you apart. So we know from the beginning that people can do things, they can take his name upon themselves, they can do things in his name, but it won't be according to his character, and thus they profane his set-apart name. Mark 9:5-6 says, and Yeshua began to say to them, take heed that no one leads you astray, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am he. Yeshua answering them said, take heed that no one leads you astray, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah. And he said, see that you are not led astray, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am. Okay, many will come in his name. Just coming in his name doesn't guarantee that you're coming in his character. Genesis 4:26 says, and to Sheth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then it was begun to call on the name of Yahuwah. A more accurate translation is, then it was begun to profane the name of Yahuwah. Okay, in the Targum, it talks about the fact that they were surnaming their gods by the name of Yahuwah. Deuteronomy 18:18-20 says, and I shall raise up for them a prophet like you out of the midst of their brothers, and I shall put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak them to them all that I command him. And it shall be the man who does not listen to my words, which he speaks in my name, I require it of him. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. So we can see here, can't we, in these things, what it is to carry the name of Yeshua falsely, or carry the name of Yahuwah falsely, because they have the same character, the same name. You who make your boast in the Torah, through the transgression of the Torah, do you disrespect Elohim? For the name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. So how do we blaspheme his name? How do we carry it falsely? Okay, we make our boast of the Torah. We're Torah keepers. But then we transgress the Torah. Okay, that's blaspheming his name. For circumcision indeed profits if you practice the Torah. But if you are a transgressor of the Torah, your circumcision has become uncircumcision. And that's anything, Wearing tzitzit, Wearing tzitzit, it's worth nothing if you don't keep all of the rest of the Torah. If it's not one whole package that you only do as a whole package, doing any element of it is worthless before Elohim. Blasphemes his name, in fact. Leviticus 18:21 says, "And do not give any of your offspring to pass through to Molech, and do not profane the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim. Carry it falsely. Lest I become satisfied and deny you." This is in the Proverbs, this is Solomon. "Lest I become satisfied and deny you and say, who is Yahuwah? And lest I be poor and steal and wield the name of my Elohim." Okay? Again, it's a Hebrew parallelism. This one is showing the two ends of the spectrum. Becoming satisfied and then denying him because you've got so much abundance. Okay? Or the other end of the scale, becoming poor, stealing, and still wielding the name of Yahuwah. And it can be any sin that's put in there. It's not just stealing. Okay? It's carrying his name falsely. Jeremiah 14:14 says, "Then Yahuwah said to me, the prophets prophesy falsehood in my name." Mark 9:38-39. Okay? Yochanan said to him, "Teacher, we saw someone who does not follow us, casting out demons in your name. And we forbade him because he does not follow us." Yeshua said, "Do not forbid him, for no one who exercises power in my name is able to readily speak evil of me." He's not saying, these people are great. Don't worry about what they're doing. There's no evil there. He's saying, look, if they're going to do it in my name, they're not exactly going to be able to turn around and speak evil of me afterwards, are they? So let them get on with whatever they want to get on with. Jeremiah 29 verse 9, "For they are prophesying falsely to you in my name." Jeremiah 34:16, "But you turned back and profaned my name." This is all the way through the scriptures. It's not just the idea of carrying him falsely in the 10 words. Ezekiel 36:20 says, "When they came to the Gentiles," this is the house of Yisrael that was cast out among them, "wherever they went, they profaned my set-apart name." Because that's what everyone does, isn't it? They take his name upon themselves, but they make their boast of the Torah, but they don't do the Torah. Okay, it's not a full, complete unit that they do. Okay, they thereby blaspheme his name. They profane his set-apart names. But it was said of them, "These are the people of Yahuwah, and yet they have gone out of his land." Micah 1:6-8 says, "A son esteems his father, and a servant his master. And if I am the father, where is my esteem? And if I am a master, where is my fear? Said Yahuwah Sebaot, to you priests who despise my name." We've seen what that is. "But you asked, in what way have we despised your name? You are presenting defiled food on my altar." So again, they're doing it. They're taking on his name. They're being his priests. They're going out. They're representing him. This is all about Yahuwah. This is his temple. We believe in Yahuwah. He exists. How are they defiling his name, though? By presenting defiled food, which is against the Torah. You might look at that and go, it's such a minute command in the Torah to just not present an animal with a blemish or whatever. He's saying, look, you are disrespecting my name. You're despising my name by doing this. And when you present the blind as a sacrifice, is it not evil? And when you present the lame and the sick, is it not evil? Bring it then to your governor. Would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably? Said Yahuwah Sabaoth. And the same is true of us. How much more respect does someone pay to their boss than to Yahuwah? "Oh no, I wouldn't do anything like that. No, the boss has said not to do it. I'll get in trouble. I believe in the boss. I believe in Yahuwah too. He's told me not to do it, but I really believe in the boss because, he's real. He's right there." Matthew 7:21-23 says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Master, Master,' shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens, the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many shall say to me in that day, 'Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name?' Then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness." They've done it in his name, but they've carried his name falsely. Let's not fall into the same trap. Luke 10:17 says, "And the 70 returned with joy, saying, 'Master, even the demons are subject to us in your name.'" Acts 19, 13 to 17, this is what we were talking about before. It's about in his authority. I think this is probably going to be where the slides end up. But certain roving Yahudite exorcists took it upon themselves to call the name of the Master Yeshua over those who had wicked spirits. So they weren't even calling on his name. They were just saying his name over these people who had wicked spirits, saying, "We exorcise you by Yeshua, whom Shaul proclaims." And there were 7 sons of a certain Skewer, a Yehudite chief priest, who were doing this. And the wicked spirit answering said, "Yeshua I know, and Shaul I know, but who are you?" And the man in whom the wicked spirit was leaped on them, overpowered them, and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. And this became known to all, both Yahudim and Greeks, dwelling in Ephesus. And fear fell on them, and the name of the Master Yeshua was made great. Okay, so they were doing this. They were calling the physical name. They were saying the name over the spirit, but that had no power at all, because they were not calling on the authority of Yeshua to do it. Luke 9, 1-2, this was the slide I was looking for. It says, "And having called his 12 disciples together, he gave them power and authority over all demons and to heal diseases." So this is the 2 things they were going out and doing. They were casting out demons, they're healing diseases. What were they doing it? They were doing it in the name. How were they doing it in the name? Because they were given power and authority. And he sent them to proclaim the kingdom of Elohim and to heal the sick. Acts 9 says, "And the master said to him, 'Arise and go to the street called Straight, and seek in the house of Yehudah for one called Shaul of Tarsus. For look, he is praying, and has seen in a vision a man named Hananiah coming in and laying his hand on him, so as to see again.' And Hananiah answered, 'Master, I have heard from many about this man, how many evils he did to your set-apart ones in Jerusalem. And here he has authority from the chief priests to bind all those calling on your authority.' But the master said to him, 'Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine.'" Bear this in mind, okay? All the people who want to deny Paul, okay, say that Paul, he wasn't called by Yeshua, wasn't this, wasn't that. We'll throw out Paul's writings. So if you throw out Paul's writings, you've got to throw out Peter's writings, who call him scripture. If you throw out Paul, you've got to throw out the book of Acts, who says that he was called by Elohim, he was given authority by Elohim. You throw out the book of Acts, it was written by Luke, so let's throw out the Gospel of Luke as well. You see how it's a slippery slope which just does away with the New Testament in the end, which is where just a ridiculous number of people have ended up. "For I shall show him how much he has to suffer for my name." Okay, this is not a guy that was not called by Yeshua. Psalm 44, 20-21 says, "If we have forgotten the name of our Elohim, or stretched out our hands to a foreign god." Does this finally make sense now? People will look at this and they'll say, "We've forgotten the name Yahuwah. We should all be saying Yahuwah. We've forgotten it for so long." No. We've forgotten the name of our Elohim, or stretch out our hands to a foreign god. Would Elohim not search this out? For he knows the secrets of the heart. He's not there going, "I know you've forgotten my name. You don't know it, do you? What is it then?" No, he knows the secrets of the heart. He knows that we've forgotten his character. And it brings us to this scripture, and we'll end on this. "Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your Elohim. You do not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the 7th day. Therefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart." You see how the words build one on another, starting with "I am Yahuwah your Elohim." Okay, his name is established, and this is all about his name. This is why it's so important for us to do these things. But we'll come back in the third part, and we'll do the rest of the 10 words. Right, well, the third part will be shorter. I'd actually made a version of that where I'd cut out a load of scriptures and put scriptures in different places and stuff. But I'd copied it to the SD card, and for whatever reason it's not shown up in that way. So I guess, let his name be exalted, let it be lifted up. There's all of the scriptures about his name for you. But this part will be shorter. Okay, so verse 12 says, respect your father and your mother, so that your days are prolonged upon the soil which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. And this is an interesting commandment, because it says this in Ephesians 6, 1-3. Paul draws out what's interesting about this. He says, children, obey your parents in the master, for this is right. Respect your father and mother, which is the first command with promise, in order that it might be well with you and you might live long on the earth. So Paul draws it out as well. He says, look, notice this. This is the first commandment that anyone's given, where it says, do this in order for this, so that it might be well with you and that you might live long on the earth. In Ephesians 6, 5-7, it says, servants, obey your masters according to the flesh. Now the 10 Commandments kind of give us a template from which we get the rest of the Torah. A lot of the rest of the Torah will be based on one of the 10 Commandments, or show us how to do one or two of them together. In the rest of the word, we get this idea of, again, submission to authority. Servants, obey your masters according to the flesh with fear and trembling, in sincerity of heart as to Messiah. So obey them as if you're obeying the Messiah. Not with eye service as men pleasers, but as servants of Messiah, doing the desire or the will of Elohim from the inner self. So don't do it for people in order to please them. Again, the example of the boss. Do it because you're doing it to Yahuwah. Rendering service with pleasure as to the master and not to men. And we see this just repeated all the way through the things, the authorities that he's put in place. It's important to obey them, just as it is our father and our mother. Be subject to every institution of man because of the master, whether to the king as supreme or to governors, as to those who are sent to him, for the punishment of evildoers and the praise to those who do good. Because such is the will of Elohim, that by doing good you shall put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. So every institution that he sets up, every authority. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the crooked ones. Okay? And this is any authority that's set up. As long as they're not having you transgress the Torah, obey them, not only the good ones, but also to the crooked ones as well, because it's the system that Yahuwah has set up. For this is favor, if because of conscience towards Elohim, anyone bears up under grief, suffering unrighteously. So you might be obeying these authorities, and it might be unrighteous. The things that they're having you do, it might be unrighteous to you. You might be suffering because of it. But because of conscience towards Elohim, you do it, and it's good before him. For what credit is there in enduring a beating when you sin? But if you suffer for doing good and you endure, this finds favor with Elohim. Okay? You suffer a beating, and yet you do not retaliate to the person. It is good before Elohim. What good is there if you suffer a beating when you've done something wrong? If you suffer when you're doing good and you endure, this finds favor with Elohim, and that's for any authority. Okay? Whatever the authority says, that then do. And if you suffer because you're doing what is good in Elohim's sight, then that is favor with you before him. Hebrews 13:17 says, obey those leading you and be subject to them, for they watch over your lives as having to give account. Okay, so the leadership that Elohim sets up, obey them. Okay, because they've got to give account because they are watching over your lives. 1 Peter 3:1. In the same way, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that if any are disobedient to the word, so not only the good, but also the crooked, they without a word might be won by the behavior of their wives. Elohim wants us to always walk in his image. Okay? No matter what the authority is, we do what they've said to do, unless it is a transgression of the Torah, in which case we ought to obey Elohim rather than men. Colossians 3:18-20, wives, subject yourselves to your own husbands as is proper in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter towards them. Children, obey your parents in all, for this is well-pleasing to the Lord. You see how he's tying these all together, and he's saying this is the same principle here. Wives, subject to your husbands. Husbands, subject to your wives. Children, subject to your parents. Verse 13 says, You do not murder. Okay, pretty simple. Yeshua says this about that. Matthew 5:21-22, he said, you heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. And I say to you that whoever is wroth with his brother without a cause shall be liable to judgment. Really important caveat that he puts in there, okay? Because he says, and whoever says to his brother, Rakah, you fool, shall be liable to the Sanhedrin, but whoever says you fool shall be liable to the fire of Gehenna, okay? But Yeshua does it, doesn't he? He goes out and says to the Pharisees, you fools and blind. Okay? How is he able to do that and then teach against it? It's being wroth with your brother without a cause. Okay? You do not commit adultery. Okay? Again, pretty simple. Everybody's kind of got this ingrained in their moral compass anyway. That's what Yeshua says about it. It says, you heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. And I say to you that everyone looking at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Okay? So you're married and you're looking at another woman with lust. Okay? To just not commit adultery with her, that's not really what the law is about, is it? The law is about illustrating what is right and what is wrong. So if you're then married and you're looking at another woman with lust, then you've already committed adultery. You've already broken that law in your heart. You've disregarded that law. You've cast it aside to do it in your heart. It's not about just the physical action. As we'll see with all of these laws, in fact. See, you might not be committing adultery because you might not be married, but you can fornicate in your heart. If you're looking after another woman with lust, then you can be fornicating with her in your heart. Or whatever the thing is, if you're lusting after something, a material object, and you're thinking, I really, really just want to take that, then you can be stealing in your heart. You can wish that you'd gone and stolen it. Brings us on to, you do not steal. Okay? Hands up everyone here who steals. Okay? Malachi 3:8, would a man rob Elohim, yet you are robbing me? But you said, and what if we robbed you in the tithe and the offering? Okay? Joe pointed this out to me. It is the same word here where it says, you are robbing me. It is to steal. So he's saying, you are stealing from me. Okay? Let's get it absolutely straight. The tithe and the offering isn't the Levites. Okay? The tithe and the offering is Yehovah's. He tells us what to do with it after that point, but it's his. So regardless of any argument about giving it to the Levites, we must give it to Yahuwah, okay? Otherwise, we're breaking one of the 10 Commandments here. We are not tithing. Ephesians 4:28 says, let him who stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands what is good, so that he has somewhat to share with those in need. And I know that this is an issue, okay? Many of us have grown up in the culture in which we live, okay? A culture in which it is morally acceptable to always to accept benefits, okay? And I'm not talking about accepting benefits as a whole. I was on benefits when the Lord called me out of college. I was on my way to a career as an engineer in IT. But he called me out of college into the ministry, and I went on benefits, and I got housing benefit. So if there's an actual need for the benefits, and you qualify for them, that's different. What I'm talking about is people who are on benefits, who don't actually have a need to be on benefits, and they're just on it because they're swinging the leg. Okay? You understand what I mean? It's saying here in the word that what we're to do is we're to work so that we no longer steal. Being on benefits when you're not meant to be on benefits is stealing from the taxpayer of the country. It's living your life and taking money from somebody else when you would be perfectly capable of working. And there's tons of reasons why people are to be on benefits. Some people are sick so that they can't work. That's not what I'm talking about. But this is an issue that is certainly relevant to the people in the UK, because we live in a society where they'll just hand out benefits to people all the time. We need to be cognizant of these things. Verse 16 says, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Okay, and we looked at this as it applies to conspiracy theories and saying things that we don't know absolutely are true, that we don't have proof of. Okay, but this applies to anything. Okay, saying something about somebody because you suspect it to be true, it's bearing false witness against them. It's saying something against them that you don't know to be true. All of these things are just so massively relevant to us, but we read over these things and we go, oh yeah, that's the whatever commandment, it's part of the 10 Commandments, and we just read over them and we think, oh, we don't do any of those things. Stealing, go back to stealing. Downloading stuff, going on YouTube and watching videos that the creator hasn't put up there, but that is available freely on YouTube. The person who owns the intellectual property rights to it hasn't put it on YouTube, but we'll go on there and we'll watch it just because it's freely available. All of it's stealing. These are things that we really need to just meditate upon and break down and think, how do these things actually really apply to me? Am I actually in transgression of these things? Or do I just think of them in a very kind of legalistic black and white way, which is what Yeshua was teaching against? You do not covet your neighbor's house. You do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. Okay? Do you ever think, when you look at something that someone else has got, do you think, I wish that was mine. I'm going to try and create a situation in which that can become my thing. Okay? Do you look at the way that Yah has done things, the way that he's apportioned things out, and covet after something else, and think, I just wish that I was Elohim, is essentially what you're saying. I wish that it was me that was doing the distribution here. No, don't do it that way, Lord. In fact, I'm not going to let you do it that way. I'm going to strive against it and do something to bring it into my own possession. Okay? In Romans 7, verse 7, it says, what then shall we say? Is the Torah sin? Let it not be. However, I did not know sin except through Torah. For also lust knew not if the Torah had not said, you shall not covet. Okay? These things, lusting after something, whether it's material wealth, whether it's somebody, whether it's, whatever, it's all down to this commandment. Paul breaks these things down. You read through Paul's writings, he does a great job with it. Okay? Coveting is something that we can apply to just everything in our life, just wanting things to be different and not being still and knowing that he is Elohim. And all the people saw the thunders, the lightning flashes, the sound of the ram's horn, and the mountain smoking. And the people saw it, and they trembled and stood at a distance. And said to Moshe, you speak with us, and we hear, but let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said to the people, do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you, to test you, in order that his fear be before you, so that you do not sin. Okay? And I was speaking about this with Joe the other week, about the idea of the fear of Elohim, about it being a driving force in us not sinning, and about that being the beginning of our walks. We fear the consequences of what will happen to us, and that shows that we believe his word, because he says in his word that he will do these things if we do not obey. So we believe his word and we get the fear of Elohim. That's what the scriptures say. The works of his hands are truth and right ruling. All his orders are trustworthy. They are upheld forever, performed in truth and straightness. He sent redemption to his people. He has commanded his covenant forever. Set apart and awesome is his name. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. All those doing them shall have good understanding. His praise is standing forever. Okay? The fear, the beginning point. You believe in Elohim and you realize and think, if I'm doing these things, it's not going to go well for me. I better stop. Proverbs 9:10 says, the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the set apart one is understanding. And what we're going to look at is something that is in the scriptures. And when I was speaking with Joe about it, we were talking about the concept of fear of Yahuwah and that being well and good. But the reverence of Yahuwah is what takes it on to a further step. We've looked before, haven't we, at what Peter says, add to your uprightness, knowledge, and knowledge, self-control, etc., etc. And he talks about reverence in that. Proverbs 15:33, again, the fear of Yahuwah is the discipline of wisdom. Now, Hebrews 12 tells us something very interesting about this event that we've just seen. Okay, they're all in fear of Elohim here, aren't they? His voice is coming, the mountains are shaking. Okay? It says, pursue peace with all and pursue holiness without which no one shall see the master. Quite a scary statement in and of itself if you believe the word. See to it that no one falls short of the favor of Elohim, that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, by which many become defiled. Lest there be anyone who whores or profane one like Esav, who for a single meal sold his birthright. For you know that afterward, when he wished to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place for repentance, though he sought it with tears. Okay? Esav, for a single meal, sold the birthright. Consider in your own lives what you are giving the birthright away for and having that instead. Okay, what it is, what pleasure of the flesh that you're choosing over complete submission to the word of Yahuwah. Because Esav, when he wanted to inherit the blessing, he didn't find any place for repentance, any place of changing himself, though he sought it with tears. Oh Lord, why do I keep doing this? It's just not worth it, is it, this single meal? He found no place for repentance, though, which is the thing which would actually lead him to the Lord. Think in your own lives. What is the thing that you're holding on to? And you're saying, I believe you. I believe your word's true. But when it comes to this thing, I want this more. And you're selling the inheritance for that single meal or whatever it is, whatever pleasure of the flesh it is. Okay? For you have not drawn near to a mountain touched and scorched with fire, and to blackness and darkness and storm. Okay? They were terrified, and it was real to them. They could look up to the mountain, and they could say, Yahuwah's there. He's on the top of the mountain. Everything's shaking. Everything's black. It's darkness. This is terrible. I'm petrified. And the sound of a trumpet and a voice of words, so that those who heard it begged that no further word should be spoken to them. For they could not bear what was commanded. If even the beast touches the mountain, it shall be stoned or shot through with an arrow. Think about this. Think about how many people come to commandments in Torah, and they're like, oh, I'm not doing that. I can't bear that commandment. I'm not going to actually do that in my life. And whatever it is, people's attitudes to be like, oh, the sacrifices that are commanded in the Torah, it's a bit much, isn't it? Killing animals, sacrificing them to Yahuwah. These people were the same. They came to this commandment. If even a beast touches the mountain, it shall be stoned or shot through with an arrow. It's a bit much. So fearsome was the sight that Moshe said, I exceedingly fear and tremble. But you have drawn near to Mount Zion and to the city of the living Elohim, to the heavenly Jerusalem, to myriads of angels. This is where it all becomes a matter of belief. Saying, look, those people, they were terrified. And they had that real thing there. But to you, you've drawn near to Mount Zion, to the entire gathering and assembly of the firstborn, having been enrolled in heaven, and to Elohim, the judge of all, and to the spirits of righteous men made perfect, and to Yeshua, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling, which speaks better than the blood of Hevel. Okay? Consider, okay, whether you believe the word, whether you read this and think, how could I sin? They were stood there before the mountain, and they were quaking and they were trembling. Okay, they all eventually went off into nonsense, and that was real to them. It's a matter of belief. This is the actual situation. This is what we're called to. We're called right before Elohim. Our sin is right before him. We're stood before him, sinning just blatantly in his face. That's why it's a matter of belief. It's believing the word. Do you believe this to be true? Do you act as if this is a reality? Take heed not to refuse the one speaking. For if those did not escape who refused the warning on earth, much less we who turn away from him from heaven, whose voice shook the earth then, but now he has promised, saying, yet once more I shake not only the earth, but also the heaven. And this, yet once more, makes clear the removal of what is shaken, everything that's not founded in his word, as having been made so that the unshaken matters remain. Do you believe this? Do you act in your daily lives as if this is a reality. I've been called to stand before Elohim, or is this just a joke to you? Have you taken on the identity of a Torah keeper? Is this just something that you do on the Shabbat? Do you go and do the feasts or, whatever? Do you like walking around going, oh, Yahuwah, Yisrael? Has it just become an identity? Or do you believe that this is the case so you would not be able to sin before his face? Therefore, receiving an unshakable kingdom, let us hold the favor through which we serve Elohim pleasingly with reverence and awe. It's the important bit. For indeed our Elohim is a consuming fire. So 2 Peter 1, 5-6 says, and for this reason do your utmost to add to your belief uprightness, to uprightness knowledge, to knowledge self-control, to self-control endurance, to endurance reverence. This is what we're going to look at. The fear of Elohim is the beginning of wisdom. This is the point that we need to get to, though. You've exercised self-control, you're keeping the commandments, you've made it endurance, you're doing that. That's kind of the lifestyle that you live now, you're following his commandments. Add to that reverence for who he is. It's the next step. Proverbs 1:7 says, the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. Or does it? Okay? This is what it says in the Septuagint version. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom, and there is good understanding to all that practice it, and reverence toward God. The same word, remember the Septuagint's written in Greek, 2 Peter is written in Greek as well. And reverence toward God is the beginning of discernment, of perception. We've talked before about when you shema the word, when you trust and obey it, that comes from the fear of Yahuwah. But to re'eh his word, to see it, to understand it, that comes from reverence towards him, is the beginning of this perception, the beginning of to re'eh his word. That's when you will perceive it and understand it. But the ungodly will set at naught wisdom and instruction. Quite different, isn't it? In the Masoretic text, Isaiah 33:6 says, and he shall be the trustworthiness of your times, a wealth of deliverance, wisdom and knowledge, the fear of Yahuwah, that is his treasure. Perfectly reasonable, but in the Septuagint it says, they shall be delivered up to the law. Our salvation is our treasure. There are wisdom and knowledge and reverence, same Greek word, towards Yahuwah. These are the treasures of righteousness. Okay, make a bit more sense. Proverbs 13:11 says, wealth from vanity diminishes, but he who gathers by hand increases. Don't you gather wealth from vanity with your hands? Doesn't quite make sense to me. The Septuagint version, it says, wealth gotten hastily with iniquity is diminished, but he that gathers for himself with reverence shall be increased. Not gathering with your hands, okay? Gathering for himself with reverence to who Yahuwah is. I find it interesting that this word only occurs these times in the Septuagint version. It's not in there loads of times, and yet these are the ones that are cut out. Isaiah 11:1-2 in the Masoretic text says, and a rod shall come forth from the stump of Yeshai, and a sprout from his roots shall bear fruit. The spirit of Yahuwah shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge, and of the fear of Yahuwah. And it always kind of struck me as a bit, I can see it being that way. If it turns out to be that way, I can absolutely see how it could be. But the fear of Yahuwah was on Yeshua? Maybe, I can certainly see how that's true. In the Septuagint version it says, and there shall come forth a root out of the root of Jesse, and a blossom shall come up from his root. And the Spirit of God shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and strength, the Spirit of knowledge and reverence shall fill him. That makes more sense to me. So the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom, and everyone would do well to fear Yahuwah. I can't sin because I'm terrified of the consequences of it. But reverence is where we need to be headed to. Psalm 86:11-12 says, teach me your way, O Yahuwah. Let me walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear your name. And we saw what his name was before. I praise you, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, with all my heart, and I esteem your name forever. So the people stood at a distance, but Moshe drew near the thick darkness where Elohim was. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, say this to the children of Yisrael, you yourselves have seen that I have spoken to you from the heavens. You do not make besides me gods of silver, and you do not make gods of gold for yourselves. And it's interesting, isn't it? He reiterates this here, because what were they about to do? Okay, a golden calf. It's like, really? I'm being serious. No gods of gold, all right? Make an altar of earth for me, and you shall sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings and your sheep and your cattle. In every place where I cause my name to be remembered, I shall come to you and bless you. And this is another thing that this whole kind of Melchizedek teaching gets wrong. It says that the offerings were only given because of the sin of the golden calf. Okay? The offerings were given all the way back. Abraham gave offerings. All of them gave offerings before the sin of the golden calf, before he gave them the Torah. He says, make an altar and offer offerings for me. Okay? So anyone online, don't think there's anyone here, anyone online that's kind of getting into this Melchizedek thing, there are many flaws in it. And I'd say to you, go on the playlists and watch the 3-part teaching that there is about Melchizedek's priesthood or Melchizedek's priesthood. And if you make me an altar of stone, do not build it of cut stone, for if you use your chisel on it, you have profaned it. Nor do you go up the steps to my altar, lest your nakedness be exposed on it. And on that very kind of surreal, weird note, the Torah portion ends. So shall we pray? Father, please show us what it is to fear you and help us to have reverence for you. I ask you that this week, as we read your word, you show us who you are in it. You show us your name. You show us that you are worthy to be revered, and that by the power of your Ruach, you establish us in your word and in your truth. Thank you, Father, that you remember that we are but dust, and thank you for your great patience and your mercy. Thank you, Father. Amen.